It was a clear afternoon in New York City, where the golden sun cast its rays over the towering skyscrapers, while the city buzzed with its characteristic energy. The constant hum of metropolitan traffic created an urban symphony, interspersed with occasional sirens and the clamor of hurried conversations. Among the endless stream of vehicles moving along Fifth Avenue, a sleek black luxury sports car stood out, its polished exterior reflecting the cosmopolitan landscape. Inside the car, Michael Thompson drove calmly, appreciating the smooth purr of the engine under the hood. Michael was a black man of medium build, but he carried an imposing presence. His navy blue suit, meticulously tailored, spoke of a successful career achieved through effort and dedication. He was a well-known civil rights lawyer, renowned for his passionate and relentless advocacy for justice and equality. That day, Michael was returning from a strategic meeting with a group of activists organizing an event on social justice. He was deep in thought, reflecting on the inspiring discussions he had, when he noticed the red and blue lights flashing in his rearview mirror. A familiar feeling washed over him, a discomfort he intimately knew. The police car, commanded by Officer John Reynolds, a veteran of the New York City Police Department, approached and signaled for him to pull over. Reynolds was known among his peers for his inflexible and sometimes controversial approach. His reputation for resolving situations with a firm hand often crossed the line of acceptability, especially in racially diverse areas. Michael, experienced in handling tense situations, took a deep breath and maneuvered his car to a safe stop. He had faced similar episodes before and knew that keeping calm was essential. The officer approached with firm steps, exuding an authority he hoped would intimidate. "License and registration now," he ordered, his voice carrying a practiced harshness. Michael, maintaining an unperturbed facade, responded promptly. He moved with precision to retrieve the car's documents and his license, handing them to the officer with a steady hand. "May I know the reason for the stop, sir?" he asked, his voice polished yet unwavering. The officer's response was direct and laden with latent prejudice. "This car is too expensive for someone like you to own. We need to see if it's stolen." The words, though not new to Michael, still stung. He knew that his skin color often overshadowed his achievements and status. While Officer Reynolds returned to the patrol car to run the records, he began firing intrusive questions. "Where are you from? What do you do for a living? How did you afford a car like this?" The tone was disdainful, but Michael was prepared. "I work hard and honestly, sir. Is there anything else I need to know?" he replied, maintaining his composure. The situation dragged on unnecessarily. Reynolds, finding no irregularities, decided to call for backup, an attempt to prolong Michael's discomfort. "Step out of the car, we're going to conduct a search," he ordered, without any apparent reason beyond prejudice. Michael, still calm, stated, "Of course, but I'd like to retrieve something from my bag first, if I may." The officer hesitated but agreed, keeping a restless hand near his weapon. At this moment, Michael took out his identification wallet. He opened it, revealing the bold golden letters that unequivocally stated, "Civil Rights Attorney." "I think we can have a different conversation now," Michael said, his voice carrying an unwavering serenity that belied the tension of the moment. Officer John Reynolds, upon seeing Michael's identification with the inscription "Civil Rights Attorney," visibly hesitated, his authoritative demeanor momentarily weakening. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing the seriousness of the situation he found himself in. The confidence he exuded began to falter, and a mix of surprise and apprehension became evident on his face. Michael Thompson, sensing the change in dynamics, maintained his firm composure. He was accustomed to situations where he needed to defend his rights and those of others, but he knew that this moment had implications far beyond a simple traffic interaction. "My name is Michael Thompson," he reiterated, his tone now more assertive. "I dedicate my career to fighting injustices like this. Everything that happened here is duly documented. The stop, the questions, the tone. Everything has been recorded. You're aware that this will have consequences, right?" Reynolds, still trying to regain control of the situation, mumbled an attempt at justification. "I was just doing my job." But Michael was unwilling to let it slide. "Your job does not include racial discrimination," he cut in, his voice now firm and non-negotiable. "Let's make that perfectly clear." Meanwhile, the police backup had arrived on the scene, consisting of two younger officers who quickly grasped the gravity of what was at stake. They, unlike Reynolds, had a more contemporary approach and were aware of the social repercussions that could arise from a poorly calculated mistake in times of social media and community surveillance. One of the younger officers, sensing the growing tension and the presence of witnesses beginning to gather, tried to mediate. "Mr. Thompson, we would like to resolve this in the best way possible," he said, adopting a conciliatory tone. However, Michael was already determined to pursue the case, not just for himself, but for the thousands who face discrimination daily and did not have the same platform to defend themselves. "This situation is being recorded," Michael announced, looking around at the small group of onlookers beginning to form. Among them, an elderly woman was recording everything with her phone. "You will need to explain yourselves to the ethics committee." The presence of the spectators, now growing in number, added a layer of pressure that even the veteran Reynolds could not ignore. Murmurs of indignation could be heard among the crowd, and some voices began to rise in support of Michael. "This is outrageous," exclaimed one of the attendees. "Why is he being treated this way?" The commotion at the scene did not go unnoticed by the police department. Soon, Area Commander Captain Sarah Mitchell arrived to understand what was happening. She was a respected figure in the department, known for her progressive mindset and for encouraging a cultural shift within the police force. Mitchell, quickly assessing the situation, addressed Michael. "Mr. Thompson, could you please tell me your version of events?" Mitchell's calm and professional demeanor starkly contrasted with Reynolds' initial approach. Michael recounted the events clearly and concisely, not omitting details of the intrusive questions and condescending tone adopted by Reynolds. Mitchell, upon hearing the account, recognized the gravity of the incident and the potential for significant public repercussions. "Apologies will not solve the systemic problem we face," Michael stated, directing his words to both Mitchell and the now silent and attentive crowd. The video footage recorded by the elderly woman quickly went viral on social media, triggering a wave of reactions from public figures, activists, and the general public. Hashtags like #JusticeForMichael and #EndRacialProfiling gained momentum, catalyzing a digital movement demanding changes in policing practices. Michael, now a central figure in the national debate on racial discrimination and civil rights, was invited to share his story on various television interviews. He used these platforms not only to recount his experience, but to highlight the reality of many who face discrimination without the ability to defend themselves. "This is not just my story," he stated in an emotional interview. "It's the story of thousands who face this every day and have no voice. I was prepared, but what about those who aren't?" The public outcry and media pressure forced the government and police authorities to respond swiftly. An internal investigation was launched in the police department, with Reynolds being suspended from his duties while the case was evaluated. With the suspension of John Reynolds, the internal investigation began to reveal other incidents he had been involved in, all bearing a disturbing pattern of discriminatory behavior. The revelations were shocking to the public, but unsurprising to those who had already faced the entrenched prejudice in police practices. Meanwhile, the repercussions of Michael Thompson's case continued to grow. Invitations to speak at universities and participate in panel discussions poured in, and he became a powerful voice at conferences on civil rights and social justice. His words carried weight, and he used them skillfully to articulate the need for systemic reform. The public pressure not only resulted in the investigation into Reynolds, but also catalyzed a legislative response. In Congress, a bill emerged, aimed at reforming policing practices and increasing transparency in police stops. Michael was invited to participate in the discussions as a consultant, bringing his personal and professional experience to the debate. In a congressional hearing, Michael delivered a powerful and emotional speech, appealing to the legislator's conscience. "Justice should be a right, not a privilege," he declared, his voice resonating in the room filled with cameras and journalists. "We must ensure that our system does not fail those it vowed to protect. We need a real and lasting commitment to tackle prejudice and promote equality." Simultaneously, civil society also mobilized. Civil rights advocacy groups began organizing, and lawyers across the country united to form legal support networks for victims of racial discrimination. Inspired by Michael, they worked tirelessly to offer free legal representation and guidance to those who found themselves in similar situations. The streets of various American cities witnessed peaceful protests organized by social movements, demanding transparency and accountability in police forces. The demonstrations were not just a cry for justice for Michael, but a call to action against a system that frequently marginalized the vulnerable. The local police response also began to take shape. Under Captain Sarah Mitchell's leadership, the department initiated a series of mandatory training sessions for all officers, focused on implicit bias and discrimination. While many saw this as a step in the right direction, Michael, ever the vigilant advocate, reminded the public that training is just the beginning. It's not enough to educate. We need a cultural change that reaches every level of our society. In a press statement, Mitchell acknowledged the need for ongoing reforms and expressed the department's commitment to building a relationship of trust with the community. "We are determined to learn from our mistakes and grow from them," she declared, looking directly into the cameras, as officers and community members gathered around her in a rare moment of unity. Social media continued to play a crucial role in amplifying Michael's message. His speeches and interviews were widely shared, and support from celebrities and community leaders helped maintain the pressure for tangible changes. As time went on, Michael reflected on the impact of his experience. In a live stream to his followers, he shared his hopes and concerns. "I didn't choose to be the face of this struggle, but I'm here to ensure that no one has to go through this again," he said, his expression serious yet filled with determination. "We need to remain vigilant and united in our quest for justice. Only then can we ensure a future where everyone is treated with dignity and respect." Michael Thompson's story transcended the boundaries of his individual incident, becoming a powerful symbol of resistance and hope. He had become a catalyst for a change that many believed was impossible, but that now seemed closer than ever.